Erencevale was a quiet town hidden between rolling hills and endless farmlands. Its lifeline had always been the Seron River. For centuries, its shimmering waters nourished the soil, gave fishermen their daily catch, and provided travelers with a resting place. It was not just a river, it was a part of their lives, their songs, their prayers. But one morning, everything changed. When dawn broke, farmers walked the banks as usual, carrying buckets and tools, only to find silence. No rushing currents, no reflections of light, only a gaping wound of cracked, dry earth stretching where the Seron once flowed. Birds circled above in confusion, their cries sharp and restless. Fish flopped helplessly in shrinking puddles, gasping for air before stilling forever. Children ran barefoot into the dry bed, laughing nervously, but their parents pulled them back, their eyes filled with unease. The town was paralyzed with shock. Priests called it divine punishment. Farmers called it disaster, and scientists from nearby cities arrived in a hurry, claiming they would find a geological explanation. But none could answer the single haunting question on everyone's lips. How does an entire river vanish overnight? Days passed, and the once proud Seron remained gone. Yet something strange began to emerge from the dry bed. As the wind blew away layers of mud, objects surfaced. Ancient pottery, spearheads, shards of strange jewelry, and weathered bones. The oldest villagers whispered of an ancient story long forgotten. According to their ancestors, a civilization once thrived where the Seron now flowed. They angered the gods, and in punishment, a great flood swallowed their city. The river became their eternal prison, covering their ruins for all time. But now, with the Seron gone, their world was being revealed. The bones unearthed were not just human. Some were far too large, with twisted shapes that seemed unnatural. Fragments of carvings told of winged beings, half-serpent creatures, and spiral symbols that made the elders shudder. The people of Erencevale felt a shadow hanging over them. The river had not simply dried up. It had uncovered secrets never meant to be seen. Among the curious was Mira Lenton, a young historian from Erencevale. Unlike the others, she was not afraid. She was fascinated. With a small group of villagers, she descended into the riverbed to explore the fissures that had opened in the earth. Their lanterns flickered as they entered the first cavern. The air was cold and damp, filled with a strange echo as if voices lingered in the darkness. Every step they took sent whispers bouncing across the walls. What they found stunned them. Deep tunnels leading far beneath the surface, carved with symbols no one could understand. They looked too deliberate, too ancient, as if a forgotten people had left warnings. Mira brushed her fingers over spirals and suns etched into the stone, and for a moment she swore she heard water rushing. But the tunnels were dry. Then came the statue. It loomed in a cavern, half buried in stone, depicting a creature with the body of man and the coils of a serpent. Its obsidian eyes glimmered in the light, alive with a silent warning. Offerings lay at its feet, gold, jewels, and vessels of unknown metal, preserved for centuries beneath the river's flow. Mira knew she had found something extraordinary, but she also knew this was no simple discovery. This was a secret the Seron had guarded. Word spread, and soon scholars, archaeologists, and even treasure hunters arrived. The dry riverbed became a frenzy of digging and searching. But as more relics were uncovered, strange events began to unfold. At night, villagers swore they could still hear the river flowing, though the bed was empty. Some claimed to see ripples of water gliding through the air, vanishing as they approached. Animals grew restless, refusing to drink from wells connected to the Seron's waters. Mira spent nights studying the carvings. Piece by piece, she pieced together fragments of meaning. The river is the chain. The water is the guard. Do not break the flow. Her heart raced as she realized what it meant. The Seron was not a natural river. It was a barrier. It wasn't simply sustaining life. It was keeping something hidden below, something that should never rise. Soon after, the town was shaken by tremors. Cracks spread across the dry bed. Lantern flames flickered as if choked by invisible winds. Whispers grew louder in the tunnels, words now almost clear, speaking in a language no living person understood. A farmer who ventured too far into the bed never returned. His wife claimed she heard his voice calling her at night, but when she followed, there was nothing. Others reported shadows moving along the cracks, shapes too large to be human. Mira grew pale as she translated more carvings. They told of a grate being sealed beneath the river, a creature of darkness and storm, bound by the gods themselves. The Seron had not vanished by chance. It had left only because the seal was weakening. Desperate to uncover the truth, Mira led one final expedition. With ropes, lanterns, and courage, she and a small team descended deeper than before. The tunnels twisted endlessly until they reached a colossal cavern. There at the center churned a whirlpool of water, suspended in midair, defying all logic. It roared with endless power, circling a massive stone slab covered in spirals and ancient warnings. Cracks split the slab, leaking streams of light, and a low, thunderous voice that shook the cavern walls. The explorers fell to their knees, terror-struck. The slab was a prison, and it was breaking. The Seron had been no ordinary river. It was a divine chain, flowing above to keep the prison sealed. With its disappearance, the seal had weakened, and the whispers of the ancient prisoner grew louder. Mira understood now. The Seron had not abandoned them. It had warned them. That night, thunder shook Arendsvale. Without warning, the Seron returned. Water burst forth, roaring back into its bed with unstoppable force. It swallowed the ruins, the fissures, and the whirlpool. By dawn, the river flowed as though nothing had ever happened. The villagers rejoiced, believing the curse lifted. But Mira knew better. The carvings, the whispers, the voice beneath the slab. It was still there, bound, restless, waiting. The Seron had returned not to save them, but to buy time. Mira never revealed the final translation to anyone else. The last words etched on the cavern walls still echoed in her mind. When the river vanishes thrice, the chain will break, and the world will drown in the flood of shadows. And so, the Seron flowed once more, calm and beautiful. Yet beneath its shimmering surface, something ancient stirred, watching, waiting, and whispering.